Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Nigeria Now. Today, the 7th of June 2024, the program that keep you up to date, things that are happening presently in the country. Already fingers are crossed to see what is the new template that the federal government will be presenting, hopefully today during the negotiation. So hopefully, maybe or not, there might be a strike or there might not be a strike. We do not know how the whole thing will turn out, but our fingers are crossed on that. And of course, you can join us via Facebook and YouTube. Drop your comment, your views on some of the matters we will be discussing this afternoon. I will be doing the program alongside Rachel Tansy. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Afternoon, sir.
All right, let's get to the matter of the day. Quite a lot we love to talk, and we would love to start from the statement coming from the Secretary of the Federation of Nigeria, talking about George Akume, where during a meeting with the CAN, he was making sure, or he was actually stating the fact that the shutdown of the national grid during the two-day strike that Labour actually embarked on can actually be tagged as being treasonable. He said nowhere during any strike from Labour do we see there is a shutdown of the national grid. And I remember we started a conversation in the morning, Rachel, stating the fact that, I mean, if you say nowhere in the world have you ever seen that the power is being tampered with during a strike. And we've had strike in this country. This is not the first time we're having that. And of course, he wasn't happy. Of course, nobody was happy with the power outrage. We could talk about small businesses. We can talk about even what private sectors were saying, how much they lost between those 2 days where there was no power and all of that, and as a result of other factors that came along with the strike. But I really want to know what your view are, because this is coming where Labour have been trying to lay or bring to the table their demands to the federal government. I think this demand has been going on for as long as I can remember. We can start talking about this thing from maybe beginning of the year or from last year, where there was a need to review the minimum wage, because according to the constitution, I think every 5 years or so we should have a review, and it's already over there. So of course the 30,000 minimum wage can no longer stand with the inflation and all of that. And so while we are waiting for what the new minimum wage will be, here we're also having where our SGF is saying the fact that what Labour did can actually be tagged as treasonable, talking about especially about the issue of power. We saw in the paper in the morning where even medical practitioners are complaining the fact that most of the federal hospitals, the generators are not functional, and then a number of things we can actually label with the fact that we're not supposed to be talking about, which I remember you were saying, just one source of power at a time like this. I mean, the 21st century, we're supposed to have advanced by now, but we're still talking about the issue of power and how it will cripple not just the hospital, but every other key sector in Nigeria when it comes to the issue of the strike.
I mean, with what Akume said, I would like to say that there's nowhere in the world we have insensitive leaders like that of Nigeria. I know what world leadership is and what others go through. I'm not saying that we are not better than some, but when it comes to the rate and level of insensitivity, I would like to rank Nigerian leaders at the top, where literally politicians and government office holders are the rich people in the country. That already tells you that this kind of margin already says, you know what, there's something wrong, because you are office holders. So there should be people, a lot of you out there, but you could see the different margin that someone is in government and an office holder, a senator and all of that, and you are classified as the rich people in the country. You are living a lavish lifestyle way compared to your citizens, and you want us to sit down and just accept 35,000 as you caring, because that's what George Akume is saying, that well, we have put out wage awards, and which so it means we care, we are trying to do something. And no, you're not doing anything, because this wage award don't even come smoothly. Labour have to keep following and following before you gave that wage award. And secondly, the Nigerian problem, is it wage award, or we need a better working economy generally? So how dare you use wage award to be an indicator of you caring? What we need is a minimum wage, what I am working for, not what the federal government feels like dashing me. And let's just give you something, you go ahead saying something like it's even above the minimum wage. How does that sound to you? No, We want what is due our labor. That's what NLC is saying. Not just the stipends the federal government feels like dashing you till whenever they decide to put a reasonable. No. So we have like the height of insensitivity within our leaders. Every time they open their mouth and speak, you will just see it playing out every time, all the time. And the power workers are also part of the NLC. So we've had strike in the past and we've had power outage in the past as a result of strike. We've been in Nigeria and we've seen it, where power outage will not be, it might not be total blackout, but yes, there are times that labor went on strike because their union, there's membership across every other sector.
Of course.
Yes. And they go on that strike and they make sure that their members adhere to it. You will see them literally going to offices and pursuing those who even want to be stubborn and go to the office and say, well, let's go to work. I've witnessed that. So yes, I have seen power outage as a result of strike in the country. It has happened before and it's not treasonable in any way. Yes, you might try to look for a word to classify what they did as really bad and all of that, because they started from using the word as illegal, but I'm sure they felt illegal doesn't hold much weight like that. Let's look for a word that holds I just see a use of word and then you call it treasonable. But what is treasonable, as far as I'm concerned, and is not treated like treason, is siphoning public fund. Because it's as a result of you siphoning public fund, that is why our hospital only have one power source. It's as a result of you siphoning public fund, that is why insecurity keep thriving and hundreds and thousands of lives are being lost. That's treason. That's treason. That people died in the hospital is not because labor went on strike, but because there's no generator, there's no solar panel, there's no every other type of power generation means in our hospitals and all of that. That's what treason is. And anybody that embezzles Nigerians' fund is supposed to hang, but they walk scot-free. That is the real definition of treason. Anything that directly endangers many lives. How many politicians have hung for misappropriation of funds? Nobody. And yet when NLC is coming out to go on a strike because of your misappropriation of funds and leaving the masses of the country to suffer, you're calling it treason. No. You, the insensitive ones, are the ones every day carrying out one treasonable felony or the other. But yet you sit down there, when you point fingers, it comes back to you. So do the needful, do your job, and NLC in the first place will have no reason whatsoever to even go on a strike.
Well, let's just keep our fingers. Already we're seeing the same Akume is complaining that even the wage award as it is presently, he won't be able to afford to even pay his 4 drivers 100,000 naira. So that is, I just can't help but wonder how much is he being paid, and then 400,000 out of your pay.
He gets.
And it's not from your own personal, because it's already an amount that has been stated.
True.
Because I can't, if the senators are being paid over 20-something million naira every month, I mean, how much would our SGF be paid? So we are not here to analyze your salary whatsoever, but we are here to say, I mean, workers have given their best. It's only expected that you reward them. You can't even reward them for everything they do. It's just more like appreciating for the lots of things they are doing. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. I just hope that after that meeting, some of the representative of CAN will be able to call his attention to say, you know what, we need the economy to move. And the politicians and some of the leaders are responsible for why the economy is not moving, not because there was a 2-day strike and then there was no power. No, that is not it. I mean, 2 days cannot cause the entire nation to be where it is presently.
Of course not.
There are no other factors beyond just the power outreach that actually caused that. Now we're seeing that yesterday we started a conversation concerning the fact that on Wednesday, there was a memo, or it leaked, or however it was, concerning a 5.4 trillion naira that is going to be that is supposed to be for allocation of fuel subsidy. And we saw where Bayo Onanuga came out to state the fact that nothing whatsoever, there's nothing like that, that this was just a rumor and then people should debunk it. The federal government categorically came out to say that no, we didn't say anything of such. Yes, Wale Edu submitted a fiscal policy report to the president, but then it is not yet official. So everybody should just hold his peace. And we saw where the PDP, the former vice president Atiku, came out to say, you know what, you've been deceiving Nigerians, and it's high time you come out publicly clear and state whether you are paying for subsidy or not, because we cannot explain the talking about the high price of petrol, scarcity of petrol, the additional state allocation that is being sent, and then as well as other things that are happening that Nigerians cannot really explain. So you need to come out and be clear. And I'm hoping that, yeah, there are certain things that are secret, but maybe for something like this, the government needs to come out and say categorically, what did Wale Edu submit to the president and what is the content? You might not tell Nigerians everything, but just so that things will be clear, because this is beginning to gain ground, whether the government is paying for subsidy or not as it is present. And I know that the federal government will keep emphasizing, that they are not paying it, but then from the indication of things, the price, what marketers are saying, number of people, not just Atiku, El-Rufai and others are coming out saying, you know what, the government is still secretly or partially paying for subsidy, and that is why you can be able to buy it at a particular amount. So a number of things are going concerning this issue, but here the federal government is saying, you know what, just debunk this issue that there is a subsidy allocation somewhere of the amount of 5.4 trillion naira.
I think Nigerians can accept unofficial but not rumor. It's not a rumor, because one thing for sure is that it's a fact. There is a fact that the landing price is higher than the fuel pump price. We have marketers knowing this information, and then it's out there. So it can be unofficial but not a rumor, because there are so many indicators showing that, you know what, there's still fuel subsidy. Now, let's not forget that the NNPCL, even before this came out, have mentioned that there's a backlog of subsidy payment that the federal government is supposed to make
to them.
Exactly, because they have made payments in the past on credit for the federal government, I believe, and then the federal government is supposed to remit it back to them. So whether we like it or not, that has to be captured, because it has to be paid back to the NNPCL. Secondly, we've always, President Tinubu have assured Nigerians that, you know what, fuel pump price will not go beyond a certain ceiling.
Yeah, talking about 700 naira.
Yes, and we saw it for a very long period of time at that price, until the scarcity recently that led to the high, where it went as high as 900 to 1,000 plus in certain areas and part of the country. And then now we're seeing it back at 700, and it is above 700. In some fuel station where we do not tag them as black market, we see that it has gone low. It's at 600 and something, but very, very few filling stations and all of that. The question is, how have the government been able to maintain it at that level? Whether we like it or not, marketers are in play when it comes to distribution. As much as NNPC had the sole authority, the monopoly of importing it into the country, there are still marketers in play when it comes to distribution, and they are not completely in the dark. So yes, it might be unofficial in the sense that the president have yet to sign it, because we know when you submit, there must be an approval. So we can accept unofficial. But for rumor, why we can just be asked to debunk it and let it go because it's still unofficial, it's not yet made official. We can accept to do that. However, we saw the Minister of Finance going on to explain why. So my question is, if it isn't true, why are you explaining? Because we made mention of that, because when questions were being asked, there was explanation coming to the minister concerning why there is still need for subsidy. It hasn't been removed completely, and there's a need to start bringing in other options of the substitutes for petroleum, then before we can reduce our petrol consumption, and then eventually we can say goodbye to subsidy, because we are still importing. So my question is, why would we have this information, this explanation further, if there's no subsidy? Well, in my opinion, we can accept unofficial. Unofficial meaning there is nobody with a fact or a concrete proof in their hand. But for rumors, I honestly don't think it's a rumor.
Well, I think at this point in time, all we just have to do is to cross our finger. And just like I said, I just hope the government will come out and clear its name and just
Yeah.
be clear about certain things. Yes, you say you are not paying fuel subsidy, but we need you to make certain explanation. We're not even consuming. I mean, the consumption of petrol has drastically reduced this
It
year,
does, yeah.
because number of people have parked their cars, so the
True,
people
it does.
consuming it are actually very few. So definitely there's a lot of explanation that the government have, and I hope that they believe that they owe Nigerians that explanation, because we've been in a time whereby the government feel we do not owe anybody an explanation. We take certain policies, and then we feel that that is the way forward and nothing more. You don't ask questions. And you were making, you made mention of the fact that already there was a payment of fuel subsidy earlier. Let's not forget that the hike of fuel starting from last year May, and already there was a payment of fuel subsidy up until
Already.
June.
Yes.
So the increment was supposed to start by July. And then yet we saw that we started paying. So what happened
Since
to the
then.
1 month of fuel subsidy that was paid? Nobody have come out to explain to us what they have done with that money.
Yes.
So let the government know that Nigerians do not easily forget things. They have records, they keep records,
Yes.
and they'll bring it if the government need it to actually make the explanation. So I hope that they will make that explanation. Now we see that following unrest in the southeast, I mean, we saw what happened last week during the IPOP Day, where they're celebrating their Biafra Day, the celebration of Biafra Republic Day, and all of that, and how it affected businesses because of the seed at home. And then, we've seen where the southeast governors have been meeting on way forward, and as well as even, members of the Senate, as well as, House of Reps. And we're seeing that the House of Reps have actually made a proposal of an additional state in the southeast, because they feel that that way it will be able to maybe to some extent curtail the issue of insecurity there. And then we are saying that IPOP is coming out to say, what we are asking you for is to be independent, not additional
more
state.
states,
And that was made by their spokesperson, Emma, who is always outspoken, when it comes to the issue of IPOP. He's always at the forefront and all of that. And you just can't help but, ask certain questions, because it's not only the Southeast that is going through that issue. But if that is already, it has passed the first reading, so hopefully maybe second, third, and then it might become a bill that there should be a need for creation of additional states, because we know that the unrest there is another thing. It might not make it always to the paper, but maybe when you get to have a one-on-one conversation with people living in the Southeast, then you have an idea of what they are going through presently when it comes to the issue of seed at home, the issue of insecurity, and then a number of things, unrest that's actually happening over there in the Southeast. And where I was going through, I was like, there are other states, even in the Northeast and the Northwest, that need, likes of Niger State. I mean, I've been there, so I know how in landmarks, how big it is. So maybe somewhere like that also need an additional state. But that is just by the way. We're talking about the Southeast right now. So that is to say, starting from the likes of Kogi State down that way, then we'll be able to talk about the Southeast. Now, what do you feel concerning, a way of controlling the issue of insecurity in the Southeast, having an additional state, so that maybe they will be able to control the issue over there?
So if it is to control insecurity, I don't think creating an extra state can do that. Because even in the Southeast region, there are places that these IPOP activities go on more. There's more IPOP activity in certain areas than the other.
Than
The same thing for
others.
Boko Haram. There are places that there's more Boko Haram activities than the other places. And the states in which the local government will be taken out, we are having Imo, Abia, Anambra, and I don't see Enugu is one of that also that has that peak of the IPOP seat at home. When we see businesses suffering shut down, it has been that state that have also had its peak.
Suffered.
So much of that seat at home has affected a lot of people in that area. Then if it is to control security and help it, why is it not involved in it? I know recently we saw what happened in Abia, that is the killing of the soldiers, is understood, and then that one we can say, okay, perhaps. But now the question is, IPOP's demand, is it just for some Southeast state or for the whole Southeast? So it means if now the Southeast is having 5 states, if I'm not mistaken, as it is now, adding to this will make it 6, making 37 for the entire country. It means you will just be adding an extra state to the southeast, giving IPOB more state to say, you know what, we want to break out. I don't know if it does make sense concerning fighting security, because the problem is not more state. The problem is they want out. This is what they are agitating for: an Igbo nation, a Biafra nation, something like that. So will carving out another state really solve that problem? You're just giving them more extra states, more jurisdiction, and all of that. If resources was the reason for this new state, we can say, you know what, they can have resources, meaning, because when you look at the local government, they are in large number. Like, it is a lot. Yes, do we have this much local government? Then yes, there could be a breakout from a new state, and then we can say, so that there will be more reaching to the people, there'll be maximization of resources and all of that.
States, local government that they've never had any representation
Exactly. So breaking that out, we will say. But honestly, when it comes to insecurity, a new state, I don't think it will combat IPOB, looking at their demands and what they stand for and what they are fighting for. If we will look at it that way. But for other reasons that we just lastly mentioned now, having these people getting access to better resources, breaking it out to make it more manageable and all of that, yes, we can say there is a need for a new state in the southeast. But when it comes to insecurity, they should come up with a better plan for insecurity, because it will still continue to thrive regardless of whether you create 2, 3 more states for the southeast.
You know, this is a very for me personally, this is a very sensitive and deep topic, and I believe that the governors of the southeast need to sit down and actually brainstorm very well concerning what they intend to do about the issue of IPOB over there. Already we've seen millions and billions that have been lost as a result of the sit at home and then the unrest, and then sometimes things happen and then nobody's taking, I mean, till today we don't know who were the people who killed those soldiers, because IPOB is not taking ownership for that. Nobody's taking ownership of the fact that yes, we killed this number of soldiers over there. So there is a lot that needs to be done, and I just can't help but wonder, I mean, this is something that's been going on, and the governors of the state seems to be handicapped when it comes to handling the issue of IPOB there. I know it's a very big body that have so much sponsorship even outside the country, so it's not just something within here and all of that. But I hope no wonder their leader is still in prison. I mean, because I mean the government needs to think of a better way to be able to curtail the issue there. We saw where they were being tagged as a terrorist body. They came out and said, we are not terrorists. All we need is our own country. But we keep emphasizing the fact that united we stand, divided we fall. So I hope that that somehow gets to the IPOB to realize that, I mean, breaking out will not make any difference, because a number of people say even when you break out of the state, what makes you feel you can live in peace within yourselves? So I mean, this is just beyond breaking out. I think that there's more to it, and no wonder that led to the civil war. We saw people who died and all of that. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and see how far this bill can pass, and then if it will get the approval eventually, and then we'll have maybe an additional state. And I hope that after the southeast, we should have, let's come back to the north, we also have other states that need to be divided, so that we'll have more control, representation and all of that to those people that are living there. Well, I think that's how far we can go on the program. Thank you so much, Rachel, for doing this with me. And also thank you to our viewers, thank you to our supporters, and every other person who made this program a success. Until we come your way next week, do have a wonderful weekend ahead.